Hi, welcome to SharePoint 2013 training course from AQL Technologies. My name is Samir, and in today's session we're going to go ahead and cover Chapter 5 of Microsoft Step-by-Step SharePoint 2013, and this deals with creating and managing sites. In today's session we're going to learn how to create a site, share a site, manage site users and permissions, create a personal site, change a site theme, save and use a site template, manage site features, manage site content syndication, and deleting a site. So we're going to be covering everything that is required for managing a site, and especially the most important thing over here is managing site users and permissions. SharePoint is pretty big on permissions, and you're going to see that even though the permissions within SharePoint is pretty easy, but when you start digging into it, it's more and more. It can get more and more complicated, and it is possible to implement very complex security structure within SharePoint. So, what is a site? Microsoft SharePoint sites are containers for web pages and the apps, such as lists and libraries, as well as features and settings that provide the site's functionality. We're going to see very soon what a feature is, by the way. You can use a site as a single container for your data, or you can create as many child sites as you need to make your data easier to find and manage. As a container, sites can be used to secure their content. Creating a brand new site. When you go to site content, you're gonna see a new site, just like the icon that we have here. Clicking on this new site is going to give you an option for creating brand new sites, and you can just click on any of the sites and go ahead and create a site. Very soon we're going to go ahead and see how we can go ahead and create the site. I just want to go ahead and cover a couple more slides before we jump right onto the website. Also, when you create a brand new site, please make sure not to have spaces in the URLs of the site when you create it. Spaces are converted to &20. So if you have a site by the name SharePoint space history, then when the site is generated, SharePoint converts it from SharePoint space history to SharePoint &20 point. So it's share &20 point. That's how it's going to be created. So for the normal I, it's a space, but SharePoint converts a space to &20. Creating a new site. Below are some of the pages, the administrative pages that you're going to see over and over again when you are going to be playing around with the site settings or the view or the site contents. Like, for example, the first link that you see over here, which is http site/layout/15/viewlist.aspx. This basically is the page for site contents. The second one is basically the page for site settings. The third one is the page for new SharePoint site. But the whole point over here is the layouts folder, _layouts folder. All the administrative files are kept under _layouts/15 folder. And what you see over here are some of the examples. So no matter where you go, in which site you are, it's the same page which is being called, but the URL might actually change. If you're on a child site, it might be http:/site/child site, but whereas if you're on a parent site, it might be http:/site. But the page starting from _layouts, the part of the URL starting from _layout remains the same. And these are the same pages which are being used by every single site. Note that the suffix for each website address is the same no matter how deep you delve into the site hierarchy. So let's jump to the SharePoint site and let's take a look at how you can create a brand new site. So I see site contents link over here on the left hand side under the left navigation, and I can even go to site contents by clicking on over here on the site content under the settings icon. I click over here, it takes me to site contents, and if I scroll down, the first part is list libraries and other apps, but the bottom part is subsites. I click on new subsite over here, and it takes me to a page where I can go ahead and create a brand new site. Up in the top, you're going to see that the URL, which I was talking about, the suffix is always _layout/15 or _layout/15/news /new sbweb.aspx. So any pages which you see are underneath the _layout/15 are pages which are sitting in the Hive. We're going to be doing a lot more of creating sites, but let's just go back to understanding the site hierarchy for a second over here. The top level site. What is a top level site? It is very important to understand what a top level site is. The initial site created in SharePoint site collection is called as a top level site. Top level sites are created from within SharePoint Central Administration because they don't have a parent site. Top level site functionality is not different from its child sites. It includes administrative links on its site settings page to manage the site collection. So if I go back to my demo site, then over here, and if you go up to the URL, that you're going to see that the demo over here is basically my subsite. But anything above that, and LearnSP is the name of my server as well. So anything above that is basically the site collection level, and it has the top level site within it. So if I go in here, then the LearnSP is basically the site collection level, and anything after that and is basically the site collection level, and on the level of the site collection is the root level site. The root level site does not have name to it. You know, I could just type in LearnSP/ and it shows me the page. It takes me to the pages library, and it takes me to the default page within the pages library, which is the home page. But anything after LearnSP, there is just a slash, and it does not have any subsites underneath it. When I say subsite underneath it, if I type in demo, then it takes me to my demo subsite. So I don't type in a subsite, I just type in LearnSP, and it just takes me right to the site. And this is the root level site. Now if I go in site settings of the top level site or the root level site, then I'm going to see a whole big section over here which is site collection administration. This whole big section of administrating the site collection is available only on the top level site or the root site. It does not exist on any of the subsites. So if I go to demo here /demo, and now if I go to the site settings, then you're going to see that the site collection administration over here, all it says is go to top level site settings. I click on that, it takes me to the site settings of LearnSP, the site collection settings of the LearnSP. There's no demo after that. It just took me to the root level site for the site collection administration, and I scroll down and I see site collection administration. So it is very important to understand the concept of the top level site. All the sites are underneath the top, all the subsites are underneath the top level site. This is an example of site hierarchy. What I have over here is basically the server farm within which there are several different web applications. Each web application can have several different site collections. Each site collection can have several different sites, and each site can have lists and libraries. Again, this is another view of the site hierarchy. There can be several different web applications in a farm. Each web application can have several different site collections. Each site collection has only one top level site. Every site collection has got only one top level site. And every top level site can have several different subsites underneath it, unlimited subsites underneath it. This is another view of the site hierarchy. This is the server farm, and a server farm can have several different web applications. Every single web application contains several different site collections. Every single site collection contains several different sites along with lists and libraries. And this basically is the top-level site. A site collection by itself, it does not contain anything which you can view in a browser. It is the root level site or the top level site which you see when you go to the site collection. So over here, what I see over here in the site collection, which has more sites and lists and libraries, is basically the top level site. And this top level site has got several different sites underneath it, which can have several different sites and several different lists and libraries. And underneath this, there can be several different lists and libraries, items, folders underneath the list and library. This is another view of the site hierarchy. This time it's more focused on the top level site, and it just shows the hierarchy of only one single site collection. This is the one single site collection. It's got top level site, and that top level site can have several pages, it can have several sites, it can have and lot more sites, and each site can have several more sites and several more pages and several more lists and libraries. Now, when I try creating a subsite, I see collaboration sites, I see enterprise sites, I see publishing sites, and these are the several different types of websites that a user can create. There can be a lot more. Types of sites, but this is what comes out of the box with the enterprise version. Under collaboration site, you're going to see a team site, a collaboration environment for a group of people to work together. A team site is the most commonly used site. So if I try creating a subsite, I scroll down, I see subsites, and I click on new subsite over here, then it shows me several different types of templates: collaboration, enterprise, publishing, and custom is basically those templates which have been developed by developers, SharePoint developers. This is something which does not ship with SharePoint, but these are the ones that developers have developed and uploaded so that they can be used over and over again. So I go back to collaboration and I can select a team site. A team site is the most common one. I mean, others are common as well, but team site for the most part, I've seen it used a lot more than any other templates. A blog is basically a blog, a site for a person or team to post ideas, observations, and expertise that site visitors can comment on. A developer site is a site for developers to build, test, and publish Microsoft Office apps. This is going to be exclusively for those developers, who are going to be developing, Office apps, and for the most part, it requires .NET or JavaScript knowledge. Project site, it's a site for managing and collaborating on a project. This site template builds all status, communications, and artifacts relevant to the project into one place. Community site is more like a forum. It's a place where community members discuss topics of common interest. Members can browse, discover relevant content by exploring categories, sorting discussions by popularity, or by viewing only posts that have a best reply. So this is more like forums, and you can any time when you need a forum, you can go ahead and use community sites. These just came out with SharePoint 2013, and they're a pretty big hit. Enterprise sites. So if I go back to my site and I click on enterprise over here, let's do a refresh, and I click on enterprise and I see several different enterprise sites. These are the ones for the most part we ship with the enterprise version of SharePoint. In the SharePoint Foundation and the standard version, you will not see the enterprise site templates. You're going to see Document Center. It's a site to centrally manage documents in an enterprise. And similarly, you're going to see several different sites: e-discovery center, record center. Record center is a template that creates a site designed for record management. Record managers can configure the routing table to direct incoming files to specific locations. The site also lets you manage whether records can be deleted or modified after they are added to the repository. Similarly, there is Business Intelligence Center, Enterprise Search Center. Enterprise Search Center is basically a site that holds an enterprise-wide search. It includes a welcome page and a search box that connects users to 4 search result pages: general searches, people searches, conversation searches, and video searches. You can add and customize new result pages to focus on other types of search queries. My Site Host, this is a site used for hosting personal sites and the public people profile page. This template is provisioned by SharePoint administrator only once per user profile service application. So My Site Host sites are pretty special. They are created by the user profile service application, and they are more kind of like Facebook pages, but for work. And setting up My Site profile, My Site Host profile page requires knowledge of user profile service application, which is part of administration. Community portal is a central site for communities in an enterprise. Basic Search Center, it's just a search that provides a basic search experience. It includes a welcome page, which is a search box that connects users to a search results page and an advanced search part. Similarly, there is Visual Process Repository. Now, out of all these enterprise sites, the most that I have used and most that you might be using would be Record Center, and then Enterprise Search Center, My Site Host, and might be Basic Search Center. For the most part, the SharePoint provides a lot of site templates that you might not end up using. Publishing sites. So let's go back to publishing sites. Click on Publishing tab, and you're going to see some of these publishing sites. Publishing site with workflow and enterprise wiki. So Publishing portal, it's a starter site hierarchy for an internet-facing site or a large intranet portal. It includes a home page, a sample press release subsite, a search center, and a login page. Typically, this site has many more readers than contributors, and it is used to publish web pages with approval workflows. It is pretty important to understand publishing portals. These are really internet websites. These are more really public websites. These could be websites like yahoo.com, on which there are authors who are publishing articles, and these articles need to be approved by a lot more approvers before they are available for public, before users like you and me can go to yahoo.com and view those articles. So there's a whole approval mechanism built behind it, and only those articles which have been approved are available. So this can be accomplished using publishing portals. Enterprise wiki, a site for publishing knowledge that you capture and want to share across enterprise. So in layman's term, this is Wikipedia. It pretty much provides every single thing that Wikipedia does. Product catalog, it's a site for managing product catalog data that can be published to an internet-facing site through search. For the most part, the publishing portal and the enterprise wiki are a lot more used, and it might be a good idea to go ahead and create all the 3 sites, but the first 2 are a lot more used. So creating a new site, and we have just seen that this is the page for creating a new site. Let's jump over to the next slide. New site, settings, permissions. So let's go ahead and create a site, and let's just focus on new site, settings, permissions. So I'm going to create a site for buyers, and I'm going to make it buyers 1. The title is going to be buyers, but the URL is going to be buyers 1 because I might have created buyers before. And this is going to be an internal team site, so I'm going to select an internal. I'm going to select collaboration and select team site. Now permissions, I'm going to go ahead and click on use unique permissions. I have two options over here. Use same permissions as a parent site and use unique permissions. If I select use same permissions as a parent site, then SharePoint is going to create this site with the same permissions that the parent has, which basically means that only those people who can access a parent site can access this site as well. And any of those who cannot access a parent site will not be able to access this child site, or any of the permission levels which have been specified for any of the users. Those users are going to have the same permissions on this child site as well. So, but if in a case, if I want to make this child site as something with very unique permissions, so that only a certain number of users, or only certain users from the 1,000 users who can access the parent site should access the child site, then I would select use unique permissions. And I would write down, or I would actually add or give permissions only to those users whom I want to be part of the site. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and select use unique permissions. And when I select use unique permissions, only those users whom I give permissions will be able to access this site. The navigation inheritance over here, use the top link bar from the parent site. I'm going to say yes. Click on create, and it's creating my site. Now before it creates my site, what it does is that it shows me, since I selected use unique permissions, it shows me this page where it's creating 3 security groups. The first one is going to be for the visitors. This is going to be for the visitors of the site, and visitors can read content in this website. The second security group is going to be for members of the site, and anybody who's part of the members group are going to have the contribute access. And finally, the third one is going to be the owners group. Anybody who's part of the owners group, they're going to have full control over the website. So let's go ahead and create 3 security groups, and by default SharePoint always creates 3 security groups by default. One's going to be visitors, second one's going to be members, and the third one's going to be owners. So I'm going to go ahead and give these pretty unique names. The first one's going to be buyer 1 visitors. The second one is going to be buyer 2 members, members, and the third one's going to be buyer 3 owners. Or actually, I apologize, it's all going to be buyer 1 members, buyer 1 visitors, and buyer 1 owners. The reason being that buyer 1 is the name of the website, or the URL of the website. So I like to have the security groups named after the name of the site itself. So buyer 1 visitors, buyer 1 members, and buyer 1 owners. And as of right now, me as the system account, I'm logged in as the administrator, so this is the system account. I'm the owner and I'm the member as well. Since owner has got more permission than the members, so I can just take out system account from the members, because anyways the owners group is going to give me all the access that I need. It's going to make me the owner of the site. And finally I hit on OK, and it has just created my buyer's child site. And if I look in the URL, then what I'm going to see is that LearnSP is the top level site, demo is the child level site, buyer 1 is the child of the demo that I just created. This is the name buyers as I specified as the title, and then the URL as I specified was buyers 1. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take a look at the site permissions of the buyers and compare it with the site permissions of its parent, which is the demo. click on Site Permissions, and it shows me the three security groups: Buyer 1 members, Buyer 1 owners, and Buyer 1 visitors. Only those users who are part of these groups will be able to log into this site and access this site. When I say this site, I mean the Buyers 1 site. So now I'm going to go ahead and look at the security settings for its parent, which is a demo one. The easiest way is I copy the URL and I just take out Buyer 1 in here. When I take out Buyer 1 in here, then it's going to show me the settings, the site permissions for the demo site. Okay, one of the way, again, I could go, if this sounds confusing, then one of the ways I just go to the parent site, which is demo, and then I click on site settings, and then I go to site permissions, and it's going to take me to the same page, which is the site permissions of the demo. So what I have over here is permissions for demo, and what I have over here is permissions for the buyer. Now let's go ahead and compare the permissions that I have for the demo with the permissions that I have for the buyer. As we saw for the buyers, we specified unique permissions and we created three groups: Buyer 1 members, Buyer 1 owners, and Buyer 1 visitors. If I go to demo, then what I have are a lot more security groups. And none of these groups have access to the buyer's subsite, which basically means that any of those users which are part of any of these groups, they cannot access the buyer subsite unless I explicitly give them access. So now I open up learnsp/demo in Internet Explorer because I wanted to log in as a different user, and I'm logged in as a user Aziz. And this user has got access to LearnSP demo. And you can see if I refresh it, I can see the LearnSP/demo, or which is the user Aziz can actually log into LearnSP/demo. Now I'm going to go ahead and try accessing LearnSP/demo/buyers1, which is a website, which is a child site with unique permissions, which does not have access to anybody except for the administrator. And when I try accessing this, it says, let us know why you need to access the site, because the user Aziz does not have permission to the site. Now I'm going to go back to Chrome where I'm logged in as the administrator, and I'm going to go back to my buyer site where I have the three security groups. And what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to go ahead and give visitors access to the user Aziz. I click on the Buyers 1 Visitor Security Group, and it opens up a page where I can go ahead and add users to these security groups. Click on New, click on Add Users to this group, and in here I'm going to go ahead and add LearnSP 2013/Aziz. And over here it shows me if I have a personal message for this user, which I don't have any. And over here it says show options. I click on this option and I have an option for sending an email invite. Click on share, and now the Buyers 1 Visitors group has got access to LearnSP/Aziz, which basically means Buyers 1 Visitors group has the Aziz user, and this user has got permissions to log into this website, and those permissions are only as much as the visitors group, which in this case right now is just read. Now let's switch back to IE, and now here again on IE I'm logged in as the user Aziz. After the admin gave the user Aziz access to Buyers 1 site, I'm going to try logging in as Buyers 1, logging into Buyers 1 as Aziz. I hit on refresh, And now I have access to the buyer site. And again, I'm logged in as the user Aziz, and I have access to the buyer site. So this is how I can configure unique permissions, and this is how I can assign users to any of these security groups and give them access. So just a quick overview of the settings permissions again. Use same permissions, and this is the default option. Using same permissions as a parent site, it checks the parent site permissions every time the user visits the child site to determine what the user is allowed to do on that site, which is on the child site. As the permissions on the parent site change over time, the permissions on the child site also reflect those changes. Use unique permissions. When you click this option as a site's creator, you break the permission inheritance, and you are initially the only user with access to the site associated with the administrator permission level. Navigation settings. These basically display the site on the quick launch of the parent site, display the site on the top level bar of the parent site, and finally use the top link bar from the parent site. So this really is how you want the navigation of the child site that you're creating to look like. So site creation settings. These are some of the settings that you're going to see for a new site. Title and description, website address, quick launch, permission settings, which is inherit or break, and is one of the most important ones. Navigation, sharing a site after it is created, site permissions group. So we're going to go ahead and review some of these settings now. I'm on the site settings page of the new child site. I see title, description, and logo. I click on that, and then I can change the title. I can change the title from buyers to buyers 1. There is already a buyers site, and if you are not a member of it, then join the buyers 1 site. Okay, and down at the bottom I see website address, and this is the home of the subsite. This is the unique name for the website, for the subsite. If I change this, then the URL, then all the URLs that the users might have saved in their bookmarks for this child site would crash. So you have to be very careful before you rename this URL, before you rename the website address of the child site. Now this time I'm going to go to site permissions again, and I want to show you things in the ribbon. This is the delete unique permissions. Since I chose unique permissions on the child side, I see delete unique permissions option over here. Clicking on this button is going to go ahead and delete the unique permissions that I have created over here, which are these 3 security groups, and it's going to inherit the permissions from its parent. That is, bring over all the security groups that you see on the parent over here. You're going to see all these security groups on the child side over here. Grant permissions is basically for granting permissions to the users. I can go ahead and click on this and grant permissions to any of the users. Create group is if I want to create more security groups. Remove user permission is if I want to go ahead and remove users from any of these security groups. Check permissions is for checking the permissions of a user. Like if I click on this and if I want to check the permissions of the user Aziz that I created, click on it, hit on check now, and it tells me that this user has got the read permission level because this user is part of the buyers 1 visitors group. If there were several other groups that this user was member of, then it's going to show me the names of all those groups.